All right, welcome to the CG Spectrum Wednesday night, morning, day, wherever you are on the planet stream. I'm your host, streamer, person talking to you through the intertubes, Bryan Bentley. So I'm the department head here at CG Spectrum. For all your modeling needs, go to cgspectrum.com/3D model. Okay, so what have we been doing? Girl, past couple weeks. Yeah. Palindrone bot. Still on that Palindrone bot. Closing in. We're getting close, kids. We're getting real close. Getting real close. So, today we're going to talk about UVs. We're going to talk about UVs in Maya. We're going to talk about UVs in Houdini a little bit. We're going to talk about UVs in general. Like, so there are so many different ways to do UVs. And not just like the laying out of UVs is actually pretty simple now. You only really have, you have your planar, which I'll show you, cylindrical, which I show you. There's automatic, which I rarely ever use because it makes too many pieces. Most things that are automatic in computer graphics, don't really work very well. So, yeah. So what we're gonna do, and then there's flattening, unfolding, which the algorithms for unfolding are really, really good now. They're really quite spectacular. So we're gonna go over that. But moreover, I want to talk about kind of like the methodology of how you organize your UVs, because there's so many different ways you can put your entire character into one, 0 to 1 space. You can have UDIMs. You can have multiple materials. You can have one material with multiple UDIMs. It's a logistical nightmare. So I think for this guy, I want to keep it simple. I think I'm just going to put him all in one tile. Yeah, I think I'll put him all in one tile. Now, I'm going to make that tile be a little bit larger. So I'll probably do like 4 or 8K textures so I can get my detail. Or I might split him up into a couple tiles. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know what I'm doing. Let's enjoy the journey. All right, so here's where I was last time. And yeah, so we're here. I brought in, if you remember last time, you can check out it last time. My stream cut out a couple times, but it's all good. I made these wires in the Houdini, which was really fun. So let's look at. I don't think these came in with any UVs, so I'm actually gonna just come over here. UV editing. Yeah, they came in with UVs, but they're all over the shop. Actually, most of my UVs are all over the shop. These are, so painful. So painful. So generally, what I'm going to do is, let's go to my head. Let's hide this. And I still need to go through and, name all this stuff. So I'll probably do that eventually. And actually, before I go through and start my UVs, what I want to do is I want to make sure that all of my geometry, right? So I have some of this geometry that has like these crazy numbers in it. I want to make sure all of that is frozen, because that can mess up your unfold process in Maya for whatever reason. It can mess up your unfold process, and it can mess up your packing process. So like we look here, like I have like this one's rotated something crazy. So I got this teeny tiny whatever this is, piston, pivot, whatever. So all this stuff is really, really small. So let's use this. So what I want to do is I want to freeze all the transformations for everything I got. So I'm just going to go through methodically. Hey Pietro, what's up, man? How you doing? So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to say modify freeze transformations. I'm gonna make sure translate, rotate, and scale say apply. So I'm just gonna go through each one of my pieces and make sure that that is working. So my arm is a little different because I have these pistons in here which I kind of want to keep intact. So I'm going to treat those a little differently. There's my cable here. Let's see what we got in here. These are my, let's see what's that. These are my cable groups. So these can also be frozen, I believe. Yeah, these are my cables. Let's see. Cable group. Cable group. There's that one. So where did I put the other one? Okay, so my cables are up here. So let's see. So what for these guys, what I'm gonna do is let's see what their orientation looks like. Yeah, I want to keep their orientation, right? But I don't. So I'm gonna keep their translation and rotation, but I do want to fix this scale. One thing I want to fix. I think for my pistons as well. I want to keep their orientation. Yeah, I want to keep their orientation, but I want to freeze the scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select everything under here, under each one of these. And I'm going to freeze the scale, but not the translation or orientation. I think that'll work. So I'm going to say modify, freeze transformations. And I don't want to freeze my translation or my rotate. I just want to get their scales to 1. So if I look through here, scale of 1, scale of 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Scale is definitely a killer. I try not to scale stuff if I can. Because sometimes when you get scale plus rotation, you get shearing. And that is really, really bad for computer graphics. Or at least making stuff look good in computer graphics. So I'm going to do the same thing here. To all my cables, I want to keep their orientations, but I want to freeze their scales. So the other thing I'm going to do with this to clean it up is I think I have, so these guys are all locators. So you can grab a locator and accidentally move it in the viewport. So generally when I'm at this stage, I'll just delete the shape node underneath. So a lot of people don't know this when you first start working in Maya, everything or almost everything that you can see in the viewport, except for like some modifiers and joints, has two pieces. There's a transform, and then there's a shape. And the shape is what you see in the viewport. It's like what you click on, right? So if I look at if I look at any one of these objects, so if I look at this clavicle here, like the shape is the geometry. It's the points, the faces, the lines, the UVs, all that stuff. The transform is what pulls all that stuff around in space. So for locators here, I really only need the transform. The locator itself is just, something for me to see that point in space. So I don't want to accidentally grab these and move them in the viewport. So I'm just going to select all of my locators. And the shape is actually a child. It's a direct child of transform. So if I just press down, right here, I've selected all of those locators. So I'm just going to blow those away. Boom. And so these now become just empty groups. But they still have their translations and rotations and everything. So there we go. So I'm going to do the same thing with my cables. I think I only have that one guy up top. So yeah, same thing here. So I'm done with those. Gonna press down, delete, press down, delete. And then the other thing is I went ahead and I got rid of that. So I have these cable wires here. So I have these base wires that I use to put those in place. And then I think I'm gonna take these curves and I'm going to take those and put them in to my pivots group. So my pivots group is just like kind of like all the stuff that I use to construct this thing that I might need later if I'm going to if I was going to rig this, or if I was going to pass this on to somebody. Be like, hey, here's a bag of like parts that you can use to like rebuild this thing in the future. Yeah. So I got my cables. So these are all in my cables. More likely than not, are going to be deformable. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of the orientation on them as well. Got one more curve here. Put that in pivots, and yeah, let's blow away the modify, freeze transformation, translate, rotate. Bang. Cool. Awesome. So there are my cables taken care of. So now everything else should be pretty easy in the arm. Just make sure. Ooh, looks like I missed one. Modify, freeze transformations, apply. Looks like I'm getting an error. Cannot freeze transformation on cube 14 due to multiply instance child cube 14. Okay. So here's an interesting thing that's happening, and sometimes this stuff happens. So these guys are all instances of one another. So cube 1, 2, 3. So these two have the same shape. And I did not plan this. This is actually really interesting. So we can see here, I have two instances here, but they have the same shape. So I think what I can do for this is I can convert that instance to shape. Yeah. So let's try, and that one's fine. Modify, freeze transformations. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 14. Okay, so 14 and 15 is fine, and 16. So 14, 13 and 14, and then 2 and 3. So let's do a modify convert. I think it is edit. No, I think it's a modify. We'll do convert, and let's see if we can convert this down. So let's see. Instance to object. So does that. So let's see. It's not an instance. Okay. So what I'll do. It looks like I can't. So these two look like they're using the same shape. This guy and this guy. So what I'll do is I'll just take this bad boy and just move him up. And sometimes this happens when you're cleaning. The other thing I can do, I might just be able to just combine these guys together. Let's just combine all these guys together. Because I don't think I want individual control of them. So I'm going to say combine. Yeah, that works. That worked better. So I'll just have that, and I'll say edit, delete by type, history. And I'll put that back on the arm. And yeah, and then I can get rid of that. So that took care of that. Cool. And once again, I think I need to come back through and name all this stuff. But okay, that's the arm. It worked out well. Claw. I think most of this stuff is this thing is almost just 100% from ZBrush way back in the day. So modify. Modify, freeze transformations. Go back through here. Yep, so that's all clean. Let's look at our leg. This one's probably got some bonkers numbers on it. Yeah. Let's modify, freeze transformations. Head. Ear. And then bolts. And now my bolts are, if we remember, my bolts are a mesh object. So so I'm gonna leave those alone. Those are my mesh bolts here. Okay. That's done. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do my bolts first, because this is the beauty of working procedurally. I love working procedurally whenever I can, and I highly suggest that you do too, because it makes your life easier. With like a little bit of pre-planning, you can, like, your life becomes much easier. And I'll show you how here in a second. So I'll show you on the bolts, and then I'll show you over in Houdini on the brain wires as well. So so I could come in here and, you know, freeze, like delete all the history on all these bolts and do each one individually, but that is not working smart. That's working hard, and I don't like working hard. Okay, so remember that all these bolts are a copy of this little bolt here. Okay, so I think I'll probably need to freeze my transformations on this guy as well. So let's see if this passes through. Modify, freeze transformations. All right, good, sweet. So I didn't break anything over here. Good. So if we look at this bolt and we look at his UVs, super exciting piece of geometry here. So I'm gonna look at his UVs. So I'm gonna go over to my UV editing. So he has terrible UVs. But if we come up here and we look at my ring of bolts, they also have terrible UVs, but they are exactly the same. So if I come in here and let's grab my original bolt down here, and I'm gonna do a planar projections, which basically means I'm just gonna spray straight through this thing. So I'm gonna do UV, planar, and I'm gonna project from the Z-axis. So apply. So that gives me that. But now, because this thing is going through this mesh network and being spat out here, I should get, boom. So all these, I've now UV'd all of these items with one operation. That's a really cool. Really cool. Like, look at that. Bang. So whatever I do to this little bolt down here is going to be done to all these bolts up here. Okay? So, it's actually quite good. So let's go ahead and continue this bolt. So it looks good from here, but these sides, like the sides, when we hit the sides, it's like a projector, it's gonna smear. Now, this may not matter to you, but matters to me. So I'm overly litigious, not litigious, what's the word I'm looking for? Picky when it comes to my UVs and setting everything up. Probably spend a little bit too much time on UVs when most people are like, oh, just like slap it in, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, do it right. Do it correctly. So, yeah, so I'm going to grab this guy. It's so small. So small. All right. So for this, I'm going to, and maybe even, yeah, I'm going to cylindrical map this. So I'll say create cylindrical. Shut this little door. And then I'll rotate this guy to the side. And that will build that little straight piece there. So, boom, just like that. So, we can scale this if we need to. I really should just go ahead and scale this guy up. He is teeny tiny, like, because his whole body fits like in like 3 centimeters. So I should figure out how big I want this guy to actually be, and then go ahead and scale him up. But I don't want to do that until I get my head wires worked out, because I want to bring those back in again. All right, so there's that part, and then there's these parts. And I'm going to say to bring. Okay, so I'm gonna grow that selection just a bit. So that should get me the rest of the that outside. So I'm gonna do cylindrical map again. Actually, for this one, I'm gonna do it automatic for this one. So create automatic. So it'll just get me all those little pieces on the sides there. So that'll give me automatic. So I'll use automatic very rarely. If something is already pretty square, like these are pretty square, I'll use automatic. Yeah. No, don't worry, Pietro. I got you. Do the same thing all the time. Don't leave them. Don't let it stretch. All right, so I'm gonna do the inside as well. Boom, boom. So that's gonna go back to a cylindrical map. So create cylindrical, and I don't know why Maya never chooses the right axis. Never chooses the right axis. All right. Grab this, move this up, and we can scale that up. Okay, so next part. So now we have our pieces, our individual pieces. Now, what I like to do, especially when I'm doing a cylindrical map like this, if you just use the default unfold in the UV toolkit, sometimes it'll warp this. It'll make it like go like that, which is annoying. Because I made all that effort to make it straight. So what I like to use, and actually I've been using this more and more, is I use unfold along. So what unfold along does is it will only unfold in one direction, so you won't get that weird warping and stretching in your UVs. So I'm going to do unfold along U, bang, and unfold along U, bang. Okay. So I got these little slivers on the edge. Let's see what those are causing. What's causing those? Edge. I'm going to cut those with Shift X. Let's see what this is doing. All right. So I might have like a little sliver along here that I've missed. And that happens sometimes. That happens. So here, I think these are okay. So I'm going to unfold these. Let's see, unfold along U. And then along V. Nice. Okay. So let's see what's going on here. And this is some geometry I pulled like directly from ZBrush, so I may even think about remodeling this as well. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, sometimes you will get that warping because you're transformed. So that's why I went through and froze all my transformations before I started my UVing. The other thing I'll do as well, before and during, while I'm doing my UV, I'll go to file, or I'll go to edit, and I'll say delete all by type history. So that'll blow all the history away on all my geometry, because sometimes history can get in the way as well. It's very sad that Maya is this broken, and you have to do all these. You have to jump through all these little extra hoops. But that's just computer graphics. Like I am now just getting into. That's why. Okay, that's why. So I'm just now getting into the Unreal editor, and yeah, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It is so painful. So all you guys that are learning new stuff, I feel you. I definitely feel you. Because I've been working in Unreal for the last like about a week now in my other job, and it's awful. Like I can't stand it. I really can't stand it. But just like anything else, I'm pretty sure I'll get used to it eventually. Or at least I hope I will. Alright, so I'm going to... I think I'm going to planar map this guy. And then let's see where this is. Is this face? There's like a phantom edge somewhere. Let's see. This is very strange. Strange. So it looks like I have a phantom edge in here somewhere, and this thing is so small I can't really tell. So let's do another cylindrical. And let's just do a straight unfold and see what it gives us. So that's better. That's actually a lot better. So I've unfolded this. So sometimes, so here you can see that kind of bending. So what you can do, so many options in this guy here, is you can say straighten UVs. So I'm going to straighten U, so that'll straighten that out. And then now I can do an unfold in U, and I can do an unfold in V. So just grab these guys. Man, this is giving me so much trouble. This is why I generally and it's no surprise to me that this is geometry that came out of ZBrush. Every time I use geometry that comes out of ZBrush, I always regret it. I always regret it. Because that geometry, as good as it is not meant, it's not meant for UVing. You don't know where it came from. You don't know who made it. So I suggest always, if you have the time, to build your own geometry, if you can. And sometimes you just got to get in there and Thanos it. You got to do it yourself. Hands are not working today. Sometimes there's no substitute for just getting in there and getting your hands dirty. All right, there we go. So these are a little bit stretched over here, so I'll take care of that by hand as well. Drop, 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 drop. Drop that down. And there we go. Okay. All right. So that's all looking good. Looking good. So I'm going to just grab all this and I'm going to say arrange and layout. So I'm going to do layout and I'm going to do 2048 in my padding resolution, and I want shell padding. I usually do 8 and 8 or maybe 16 and 16. Let's do 8 and 8 on this. So this will put padding between the shells and then around the outside. Cool. So this thing is really long, and it's causing this to be really, it's causing this to be rather rectangular. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this and Shift X. I'm going to cut it, and then, so what that allowed me to do is just pack this into some smaller spaces. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to you too. Yeah, so just cutting that. So look how much more texture resolution I got just by cutting that little, making that one little cut. Fantastic. All right, so I'm gonna scoot this over. Bang. And this is usually what I do. I'll do one piece and then I'll move everything over. Now, beauty of this is it should filtered up into here, which it hasn't because Maya is garbage. No, Maya's not garbage. Let's see. Let's see why that's not working. It could be because I need to delete the history on this guy. So the MASH network may not be generating the UVs after the instantiation. So we have this guy, this guy. Where'd they go? Okay. So let's look at our history. Let's go back to my Classic. And yeah, so we have a bunch of history on here. So let's delete that history and see if that pushes us back. If that doesn't, I can probably reinstantiate my MASH because I already have. I have my Let's see. Where is my? That's my randomizer. That's my curve. Where's my distribute? Yeah, so I might distribute here. So I might just have to rebuild it, which is fine. But let's do edit, delete by type, and let's do delete our history and see if that helps. Do we have to gridify our UVs always? What do you mean by gridify? You mean like stack them in like this? I tend to try to, for mechanical things, I tend to try to make my UVs as straight as possible. You don't have to, and that's the thing about UVs. You can be pretty fast and loose with them, and I've seen people be really fast and loose with UVs. So you don't have to, but it'll save you problems later if you're really diligent about them. Okay, so that's that. Let's see if that fixed it. No, it did not. Oh, jeez, that's really bad. That's terrible, Maya. That's terrible. Dirty, dirty pool, Maya. This should just copy up into here. Like, that's really terrible. That's a shame. That's a shame. Okay. If that's the case, let's see. Let me look at. Let's see. My MASH. Let's do transform initial state. Maybe if I just toggle this. That's really terrible. That's a shame. A software that's been this established and that costs this much money should not have these problems. It's a real shame. It's a shame. Shame. And by me toggling this, it seems to be... Man, that is really bad. Crying shame. All right. No use crying over spilled milk. Let's move on. So while Maya's in her little temper tantrum here, we'll pop over to Houdini to do some more procedural UVs. So in Houdini, so this is what I was trying to get at in with MASH, is theoretically, right, in a sound system, in a logical system, you should get, like, if something trickles down, if one thing feeds into another thing, and you, like, it's like water, right? Like, if you drop, like, some dirt or silt or color in water, and that water's flowing, that water should take that information and run with it, right? That's what I expected that to work with in MASH, and that's how it was working before. Like, it took the UVs, and then it pushed them upstream and copied the UVs. That's what a true procedural system should do. Now, the fact that MASH didn't do that is really sad. And the fact that it's now crashed Maya is also really, really sad. That's really bad. Just get it together, Autodesk. Come on. We believe in you. I believe in you. Right? Okay, so over here, so now if we're going to do this, so our tube, if we look at our tube, right? The objects or geometry in Houdini intrinsically do not come with UVs. The other thing that's really cool about Houdini is, like, you can see your UV data. So if I do a split plane top bottom, and then I do inspector's geometry spreadsheet, so I can see my position data, my vertex data, and my primitive data. So UVs generally live on vertex information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put UVs on this one little guy, and because it's Houdini, and it's awesome, it will flow, that little bit of information will flow all the way down here and end up down here. So let's do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to treat it pretty much the exact same way. So I'm going to do two projections. I'm going to do one that's a cylindrical, one that's a planar, and then I'll lay everything out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually make a group for the stuff that goes around like this. So I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this a little non-procedurally, which is fine because it's modeling. So I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to grab Shift A, if I remember. And grab these. I'm a little rusty. I usually don't select stuff in the viewport in Houdini because I usually don't have to. So I'm going to do tab, and I'm going to make our group out of this. Okay, so that's my group. And I'll call this A. And then I'll make another group here. And I'll call this B. Now, there are probably more elegant ways for me to do this, but for now, because this is so simple, I can get away with it. Okay, so I got these two groups. I have A and B. Or actually, right now, I have A and A. It's really hard to do. It's hard to talk and work this stuff out in your head at the same time. Yeah. All right, so there's that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a UV projection. So this is pretty much the same thing as what Maya is doing. So it's making a projection. So we can see by default it's orthogonal, right? And we have cylindrical, and we have polar, and we have plastic wrap. So cylindrical and orthogonal. Orthogonal is the same thing as planar. Okay, so what I can do is, it doesn't really matter which order I do these in. So I want to take this projection and I want to do it on the group, I think I did B, group B. Okay, and then I want to go to initialize, and I'm going to say initialize. Whoop. So now I'm projecting straight through this object onto those two planes. And I can see, also, just like in Maya, I can instantiate the little grid. So that's called UV quick shade. So now there's my planar projection. So here's the really cool thing, is here's my UV data, right? Your UV data is just it's a two-dimensional, it's a two-dimensional vector, right? So we can see this V, this W is all zeros and ones. So this is my UV data, right? For this vertex, the corresponding UV is at here and here and here and here and here and here. So this is really cool. So you can start to warp and distort your UVs without having to do anything with textures in Houdini. It's it's incredibly powerful stuff. And the other thing I can do is if I do UV viewport, so there are my UVs right there. Okay. So let's do our other projection. Let's do our next projection. So I'm going to do another UV project. So I'll grab this guy, and I'm going to do it on group, which group did I do this one on? Group B. This one's going to be on group A. And that is going to be a cylindrical map. So I'm going to do, instead of projection, I'm going to do cylindrical. And let's see what the initialize will give me. Initialize. All right. So, and let's see, transformation. I think I want to rotate this guy, so I'm going to hit Y. And I want to rotate this 90 degrees in X. And let's see if that'll initialize. No, it's going back. Let's do, let's initialize to the YX plane. Or XY plane. There we go. Great. So now, if I plug this into my quick shade, boom and boom. Great. Fantastic. So now, so we have this, and I think what I can do here is if I press Y again and start to scale these, I can start to scale this up until these become square. So it's not that dissimilar from what Maya is doing. It's just a little bit differently, but it's the same idea. It's the same principles. Okay. Great. So there's that. So now, just like in Maya, we can do our final layout. So let's do this. We'll do. So we'll do our UV layout. And I'll plug this into here. And let's look at our UV viewport. And that's laid out our object. So now in our options, we can say, let's see. I don't want by island symmetry because I don't really have any. I want to make sure that my size ratios are the same. So we can see that these boxes are really small, and these boxes are really small, and these boxes are really big. I want to make sure that those ratios stay the same. So let's say here we go. Scale islands to match their surface areas. So now, by doing that, it's going to say, all right, you're this big and you're that big. So it's going to try to keep them all the same. So now they're there, which is really nice. So if I do my UV quick shade, come down here, and let's do our perspective. So there we go. We have that. So now here's the beauty of this. So I've done all this work. And so now if I take this and I plug it down into here, that then comes all the way down. So I'll take it before the merge. There. So I've scattered this thing everywhere, and let's take that UV quick shade, chop that off. And let's come down here and watch what happens. This is what I was trying to get at with Maya. Boom. All that UV data. I've, like, now, by UVing one object, I've UV'd, like, everything. Everything. Right? So, the other thing is now is UV Viewport. So all those UVs, they're all stacked on top of each other. Right? They're all, because it's just copying. But I know what some of you were thinking. It was like, but Brian, what if I want each one of those little pucks to be unique? What if in my production, each one of those, if we extrapolate to something that's not just kind of like these tiny little bolts, what if I need unique UV texture space for every one of those little things? No problem. We just add more detail. We add more information. So what I can do is, just like I did a UV layout up here, I can do another UV layout down here, and it'll just overwrite that information. So I can do another UV layout. So I can plug that in here, and bish bash bosh, bam. So now I have unique. Unique UVs for every single one, if I needed that. For this, because it's so small, I don't really need it. But there, you can do that. It's in there. All right, so that's really, really cool. You can always just add information down the line. Nate River, I feel like I've blown Nate Rivers' minds. Like, people are like, oh my god. Let's see if Maya's still throwing a temper tantrum. That she is. She is definitely still throwing a temper tantrum. And in fact, because she's being so petulant, I'll do that mash setup in Maya. I'll show you. But yeah. All right, so let's get rid of this. I don't really need that. I just want just a one. So that's that. So the other part of this is I used, if we remember from last week, I used a polywire. So I had all these, I have all these wires, and then I just wrapped geometry around them. Now, the cool thing about this technique is you can, because this geometry is procedurally generated, you can also procedurally generate your UVs. So here I have U texture, V texture. So it starts at 0 and goes to 1. So if I plug that into there, should get UVs built in. Yeah, so they're there, but they're really, really small. Like if we look here, like, oh, it's so big, right? So what I need to do is I need to adjust these settings. So what I'll do is, let's see. Probably need to make, so that one's going long ways. That's going around. So I need this one. There we go. So let's do 0.13. And so I'm actually want to look at the UV viewport for this. So yeah, I want to take my U and I'm going to scale that. I'm actually going to bring that down. Oh, that's seam offset, sorry. Yes, I'm setting up UVs in Houdini. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I'm going to bring this in, and then I'm going to come back. So this controls my stretching, and this controls my squashing. So I can bring that up and down. So basically what I want to do is, if I wanted, I could just fill this UV space with this guy. So if I go back to here, so I have those. The other thing is, though, I want to keep these square to an extent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my UV viewport, and I'm going to let's bring up, let's put that to 1, and I want to bring this up. Sorry, until that becomes square, and this will become apparent in a second. So I want to bring these up until they're almost square, like that. Yeah, so like that. And then, so because I want to put this and this guy together, right? So I kind of want to stack them close to each other. So I'm going to do a UV transform. Oop. And I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to template this guy so I can see it. I'm just going to take this, I'm just going to scoot it down. So there's that. And once again, so I can just take this guy and plug it into here. I don't like these wires crossed, so just flip that. So now, if I look at this guy, boom, there are my UVs. So, shake this UV quick shade loose. And everything flows as normal. So get my normals, and then if I take and plug this into here, so there's my UV quick shade. So there's my there are my UVs. So I UV'd all of this in about 10 minutes. That's bonkers cool. Like that's really amazing. That's real. And once again, like if I did want unique UV space for all this stuff, all I need to do is throw in a UV layout between here. So you see it'll shift a little bit, and if I go back to my perspective, boom. Unique UVs across the board. Really, really cool. I don't think I'm going to need this though. So, but it's there if I needed it. I can always come back in and just re-export this. So I'm going to do that. Is it easier to do UVs in Houdini or in Maya? It depends. Depends on what you're doing. It also depends on what you're comfortable with. Sometimes I'll be like, so for like really small stuff like this, where you're making like a bunch of things, I tend to do my UVs in Houdini. For like characters and faces and things where I need really, really finite control, and I want to say this, that UV needs to be right there. I'll still do my UVs in Maya. They're both viable solutions, but one is a little bit better at doing massive amounts of stuff, and one is better at doing very, very specific things. Okay, so I'm gonna re-export perspective view. I'm gonna re-export my now UV'd little brain wire things. So I'm just gonna say brain wires, and that's hip geo brain wires. Save the disk. Let that cook. And I'm pretty sure Maya is still in her death throes. That's very annoying. Do. Yeah. So let me kill Maya real quick. That sounds terrible. Let me shut down Maya. That's so sad. So it's shame. 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 Alright. Pillow over the face. Que será, será. I really need to get some music to play while I'm doing my live streams. If you guys have any good royalty-free music suggestions, please let me know. All right. Recent files. All right. Okay, let's bring in my new wires. So delete these old ones. File, import. And let's go workspace root. Go up to my Houdini project. OBJ. Nope. Cortex. Geom, brain wires. Import. So now, I should get, open my UV editor. Sweet! There are all my UVs from Houdini. Just like I did before. Yeah, I like lo-fi music too, but I think it's copyrighted, so I can't use it on the stream. So I need to find some. I either need to buy or find some royalty-free or copyright-free musica. Okay, cool. So, what else do I want to do? So I think I lost some of my. Yeah, so I lost some of my the work I did at the beginning because Maya threw a little temper tantrum. She does that every now and again. Actually, she does it more than I would like to admit. So let's just go through. I'm gonna start with the head because that's the fun part. So let's put this back in here. So we'll start with the head and we'll work our way out with our UV mapping. Right. So that's. I'm just gonna grab all this stuff and going to freeze the transformations. So we're gonna do modify freeze transformations. All right, and I'll just start working through. So generally, when I'm starting my UVs, oddly, the first thing I do is delete my UVs because I just get rid of all this garbage and this junk. So UV, delete. Bam. Gone. No more UVs. All right, so we'll start with this one. I usually start with a planar map to start off with. So I'll do create planar. I'm gonna do this down the z-axis. So apply. Wow. So I try to get this as Works well. Oh, cool. I'll check that out. Thanks, Trash Tart. So I try to get this as square as possible, starting out. So for stuff like this, I probably could use a cylindrical map on this, but I do want to kind of cut this at the top and the bottom. So I'll start with a planar map, and then I'll look at where I'm getting the most stretching, and that's generally where I'll put my seams. So I'm going to turn on my symmetry. So here and here. So I'll cut those with Shift X. And then I'll just do an unfold. Fix. And we'll do face. And then we'll do unfold. There we go. So I'll see what that gives us. Might have to do some more cutting. No, actually, that's working pretty well. Pretty well. Yeah, it's not too bad. So I'll lay that out. Cool. And so I'll just move it over and move along. So there's that. This one, I'm going to do the same thing. So create planar. And a lot of people really don't like UV mapping. They find it really annoying. I don't mind it. Like I don't mind UV mapping the same way I don't mind kind of like the tedious stuff that you have to do with computer graphics, like things like painting skin weights or UV mapping or retopology. Like you just kind of put on some music, put on your headphones, and just, you know, kind of turn off and do it. So Shift X. It's a lot of the same stuff over and over again. And then unfold and lay out. Ooh, that was really nice. And it's just this over and over and over again. So I'll hide these as I go along. So work our way through. This is super simple. Planar map from the top. Should probably just keep this open. It's fine. This guy. And this, I might actually get away with. This is how game developers make their characters. Yeah, this is all. It's like, it's not super, you know, it's not. There's really no magic to it. It's just kind of like the same stuff over and over again. People just like to make it seem like it's harder than it actually is. It's not actually that hard. If I can do it, you guys can do it. I am not that smart, to be completely honest. This it's looking good. And this guy. So I'll take these two. Let's see. Grab all that. And then I can deselect the stuff that I've already mapped, which is really nice. And I'll do another planar. Do the Z-axis. And then same thing. Cut my edges. That should go all the way around, I think. Yep, went all the way around to the inside. So Shift X. It's the best shortcut. And unfold. Layout. Now I'm not really being super picky about where these things are. I just want them to get them. I just want to get them flat. That's the first thing I want to do, and then I'll worry about getting them in the right position. What do you do if Substance Painter is not importing your file? That is a loaded question. There are many reasons, many reasons why Substance isn't importing your file. So if Substance isn't importing your file, what I would do is, so first thing you do is you just start eliminating variables. So spit something out as just an OBJ, just one part of it, and export each part as an OBJ, and see if each part will import correctly. After that, start doing double parts. After that, start making it an FBX, and you just keep moving. You just keep on moving higher and higher in complexity until you find the problem. A lot of computer graphics and visual effects is literally just problem solving. Going to kind of work my way through this, unfold, and layout. Feeling good. That's feeling good. Feeling good. All right, those two are good. Boom. All right, moving along. So my brain wires, those are all fine. All right, I already built those. Did I already build those? Oh, I got right. I deleted those great UVs that I had before, so I'll just bring those in again. And then the brain here. So for this, I'll do a planar map on the bottom. See if I can find a loop that isn't a spiral. Oh, I'm getting lucky. See if this goes all the way around. Ooh, look at that. Not bad. So here, I'll do a, I'm going to do a planar map from the top. Yeah, planar map from the top, and then get on the bottom. Looks like my stream dropped. Well, hopefully it'll pick back up. I have a bit rate of 52 or 65. I got a bit rate of 65. That should be fine. Take it up with my ISP. All right, moving along. So we're gonna do camera based. Nope. Planar. Y-axis. Okay, so there's the top of my brain. Lots of stretchy. But what I want is to cut off this part. Okay, that goes all around. Here, Shift X should cut that part off, and that should allow me to move this whole section off to the side. Great. So now I can try to cut this guy down the side, and so we'll see what this does. It's not too bad. Shift X. And let's go all the way down. And grab these edges, find where this is going. This is the difficult part about UVing zero meshed stuff, is it's kind of hard to tell where everything goes. So there we go. So we can take these guys now and UV unfold. Cool. Sweet. So we'll just unfold everything and layout. There we go. So, in a relatively short time, we've got our all of our stuff at least laid flat. All right, so I can do a final layout and just kind of pack everything in together there, and there we go. So I am going to stop my stream and start it again, and we'll see what